That leads us to an important question, which is what do you think is the unique position of the diaspora to lead poverty reduction work? And on that note, it's a pleasure to introduce June Francis. She's an associate professor in the Faculty of Business Administration in SFU. And June, I understand that you have a particular interest in diaspora-led initiatives. So what have you heard so far tonight that resonates with you?
Yes, I've heard an awful lot. First of all, I want to recount something about, I'm afraid to tell you how long ago because it betrays my age, but almost 2 decades ago, I remember as a young woman being asked by, I think it was a CEDA conference, to talk on something. And I thought, having just left my native home not too long before, and having seen one of the largest brain drains ever recorded in history out of Jamaica, that the diaspora that was in Canada at the time had an awful lot to contribute. And I gave a talk on the diaspora. And to my amazement, nobody knew why I chose to speak about it. And they thought it was a really nice talk. I looked emotional and I looked like I had something to say, but there was no response. And to see this room tonight represents such a change in understanding in Canada and among diaspora, and I really applaud SFU for doing this because I think it is so very important. There are a number of things that I'd like to say, and one of the things I'd like to say is listening tonight, you see why the diaspora is important. It is important at a micro level and a macro level, but it's important on a very personal level. So let me talk to that first. Tonight we heard Kay say, "What else can I do?" And that's the heart cry of somebody who knows what it is to see poverty and yet to live in riches. And that is the connection that a diasporan has. It's the understanding that in this great country that we're living in, there are people who want to help. And we happen to know the sadness sometimes of the poverty. And often we can actually know what else we can do. And so, Kay, that really resonated with me when you said that, because that is what a diaspora feels. And it's that connection between the very generous country we live in that is called Canada and the people who are willing to give. But we can channel that, right? Because we form this link and we allow Canadians to channel efficiently because we know what else we can do. The second thing I wanted to say was Sumana, I think I called your name correct, I hope I did, talked about the connection between what she learned in Canada and taking it back and forth and bringing what you learned in Sri Lanka back to Canada and taking what we've learned about efficiency and taking it back to an old colonial system that's moribund in bureaucracy. And coming from one of them, I can truly say I understand that entirely. And also knowing to some extent where the needs are, how to address those needs. And that is that connection between Canada and being a diasporan, I think is really, really important. And the other thing I thought Laurie pointed out was that this is a gift that keeps on giving. Generation after generation, the connectedness remain. We're all, except for the First Nations, we're diasporans. And the connection that comes right through the generation, you see it resonating in terms of a return. And we heard about the families going back And I think that's the other strength of this multicultural society, why this is so important, is that this is a country that encourages us to teach our children about our own homes. And therefore, my children understand the needs in Jamaica and will go back to Jamaica as well. And I think that reflects the role of the diaspora in this particular unique country of Canada. So I think this... We strengthen and are strengthened by being in Canada. And having the diaspora provides a way for Canada to link back. We're now going to move into the next section, and I think a very, very important section, because there is something in the notes that we had to read tonight that really resonated with me, and it is a whole notion that poverty means a lot more than just needing things or being deprived. It's actually the lack of dignity, and dignity comes often from work, okay? That is why the next section is so important, where we talk about how the diaspora can help in business development. It's not just generating jobs, it's generating dignity. It's allowing people to do what they want to do, which is to provide for themselves, and providing that bridge. At a macro level, when we talk about the diaspora, it is really important to note that in some parts of the world, the remittances, okay, from the diaspora, the money that you and I and the $100 and the $20 and the envelopes we push in the mail, and when we go to all the people from the diaspora know what I'm talking about, the money marts, where they usually take off whatever percent, but you send it anyway because somebody's business is going out of business or somebody needs help. That on a macro level, accounts in Latin America and the Caribbean, for example, where I know best, 13% of the GDP in Jamaica comes from remittances, okay? 13%. So this is an important source of capital. And without it, many, many societies would actually not survive. But it's the way that money is channeled that is particularly efficient. We were the original microfinancers, okay? Because we saw what the needs were, what the projects were, and we knew how to channel the money directly to those needs. And that on a scale, the 100, the 1,000, the cows, etc., that provides for families. So we all know about microfinancing, but I think this is a very, very critical point. I don't want to speak too long, but I do want to make a few more points. On the macro level, I want to make the point as well that it can be a transformative thing. Most of us know about the role that Indian nationals played. There are debates about how important it is, but everybody agrees that the Indians that were in the United States were very much instrumental in starting the IT revolution in India. Because when they saw Y2K, you remember that? You're old enough? They said, look, you guys can't get the work done, but we know some Indians who can do it. And because they were diaspora people, they were trusted. See, they thought, well, you're pretty good, so maybe we'll trust you to get some Indians to do it. But that's the leap that they were willing to take because they trusted us, because we are here. And that became a transformative thing for India. So it can matter a great deal. But whether it becomes an India or not, I think it's important to understand that every project, and we will hear about some here, every connection, what we're actually doing is pulling together the networks that we have here with the networks there. We're pulling the capital, and we're marrying it with the capital there. We're using our deep understanding of both cultures, which for a marketer, but I am a marketer, so I have to say this, it's fabulous. We know the market. We know exactly what people are looking for in both places. This This is very different from and what we call in business the liability of foreignness. We can help overcome the liability of foreignness, which the liability is that you don't understand each other. But we live in both worlds, the translocality issue. So I just wanted to end by saying that I could go on for a long time, but I really appreciate this. I think it's important. I think the stories are heartwarming, they're strong, but they're very important because as they add up together, they make a great deal of difference. At this point, I'm not sure what the order is, but I think, do you want to take over?